What you do after sex matters more than the sex itself. Most people never think about this because they're focused on everything before it. The attraction, the flirting, the tension, the chase. They believe that's where everything is decided. That if you say the right things, act the right way, create the right energy, everything else will fall into place. And for a moment, it feels like that's true. But psychologically, that's only half the story. Because the real shift doesn't happen during the moment. It happens after. After everything slows down. After the intensity fades. After there's nothing left to perform. No more excitement. No more distraction. Just silence. Just presence. Just reality. And that's where things start to change. That's where attraction stops being surface level and starts becoming emotional. Because now, the brain isn't reacting, it's processing meaning. This is the moment where questions begin to form, quietly, internally. Was this meaningful? Did this actually matter? Am I closer to this person now? Or was this temporary? Did they feel the same? Or was it different for them? Was this connection real? Or just a moment? And here's the part most people underestimate. After intimacy, the brain releases oxytocin, the chemical responsible for bonding, for trust, for attachment. It lowers defenses. It makes people feel open, more connected, more aware, which means in that exact moment, they are more sensitive, more emotionally exposed, more aware of energy. Even the smallest shift feels bigger than it is. So while one person is still feeling connected, the other person's behavior becomes everything, not the big actions, the small ones. Looking away too quickly, checking your phone, changing your tone, losing eye contact, creating distance. All of it gets noticed. All of it gets interpreted. And it doesn't feel neutral. It feels like something changed. Because in that moment, people aren't just watching you. They're trying to understand what it meant, what it says about them, what it says about you, what it says about what just happened. Because now, it's no longer physical. Now it's emotional. And emotions don't follow logic. They follow feeling. And feeling is shaped by moments like this. Small, quiet, almost invisible moments that carry more weight than everything before. People don't remember experiences the way they happened. They remember how they felt after it ended. That final emotional state becomes the memory. And that memory becomes the story they tell themselves. Maybe it felt real. Maybe it felt empty. Maybe it felt confusing. Maybe it felt intense, but distant right after. And those small signals matter more than you think. Because the brain doesn't store moments. It stores feelings. And those feelings become patterns. Patterns that shape attraction. Patterns that shape connection. But here's where it gets deeper. The brain doesn't separate the moment from what happens after. It blends them together into one experience, which means what happens after redefines what happened before. A good moment can feel empty if the ending feels disconnected, and a simple moment can feel meaningful if the emotional presence stays. Because in the end, the brain asks one simple question: how did this make me feel when everything was over? And that answer becomes everything. Because from that feeling, a decision is made, quietly, instantly. Do they move closer or start pulling away? Do they feel safe or uncertain? Do they open up or protect themselves. And the most important part, you don't see this decision happen. No warning, no explanation, just a shift, a subtle change in energy, a slight difference in behavior. And over time, that small shift becomes distance. You might think nothing changed, but for them, it wasn't just a moment. It was a turning point, because after intimacy, people don't just react, they decide what it meant. And that meaning controls everything that comes next. How they see you, how they feel about you, how they respond to you, whether they feel closer or slowly start creating distance. And most of the time, you'll never even know when that decision was made, because it didn't happen in a big moment. It happened in silence, in the seconds after everything ended, when you thought nothing important was happening, but everything was. And sometimes, that quiet moment after means more than everything that led up to it. Most people don't lose attraction during sex. They lose it after. And the worst part is, they don't even realize it's happening, because the mistake isn't loud. It's not obvious. It's not dramatic. It doesn't come from something big. It comes from small shifts, subtle changes in energy, in attention, in presence. Right after intimacy, something changes in most people. They relax, they drop their guard, they mentally move on, and without noticing, they disconnect. Maybe they reach for their phone, scroll without thinking, check messages, or just look away. Maybe they go quiet, but not in a calm way, in a distant way. Maybe their tone changes, their energy drops, their attention shifts somewhere else. To them, it feels normal, nothing serious, nothing intentional. But to the other person, it doesn't feel small. It feels like something changed, because emotionally, they're still in the moment, still processing, still feeling open, still slightly vulnerable. And when that emotional state is not matched, their mind starts reacting, not consciously, but automatically. This is where overthinking begins. Not because they want to overthink, but because their brain is trying to protect them. It starts asking questions. Did this mean less to them? Was this just physical? Did I misread everything? Did something about me change things? And here's the key part. Those questions don't need answers. To create distance, the doubt itself is enough, because once uncertainty enters, the feeling changes, and attraction is built on feeling, not logic. This is where the connection starts to weaken, not instantly, not dramatically, but quietly, almost invisibly. And this is deeply connected to attachment theory. After moments of closeness, people naturally look for emotional signals, signals of safety, signals of consistency, signals that what they felt was real. If those signals are missing, the brain doesn't wait. It assumes, and it protects. It starts creating distance before the other person can. And that's why something confusing happens. Someone who felt close, who seemed interested, who was fully present, can suddenly feel different, less responsive, less engaged, less emotionally available. Not because they lost interest instantly, but because something in that small moment made them question everything. And once doubt enters, everything after feels different. Every message, every interaction, every silence gets filtered through that uncertainty. And the hardest part is, the person who caused this shift usually has no idea. They replay everything in their mind, and see nothing wrong. From their perspective, everything was fine. Nothing major happened. No mistake. No problem. But the other person isn't reacting to what happened. They're reacting to how it felt after it ended, and that feeling is what they hold on to. Not the moment itself, but the emotional conclusion. Maybe it felt cold. Maybe it felt distant. Maybe it felt one-sided. Maybe it felt incomplete. Maybe it felt like something was missing, like something didn't match, like the energy changed too fast. And those small emotional mismatches stay longer than you think. They replay in the mind again and again, trying to understand what went wrong, trying to make sense of the feeling. And slowly, that confusion turns into distance. Because when the brain can't find clarity, it creates protection. And protection always creates space, whatever it felt like. That becomes the truth. And once that truth is formed, it's hard to reverse, because now the connection isn't clean anymore. It has doubt inside it, and doubt changes behavior. They might not say anything. They might not confront it. They might not even fully understand it themselves, but you'll feel it in the way they respond, in the way they text, in the way their energy shifts. Less excitement, less effort, less emotional presence. And over time, that small moment turns into emotional distance, not because of one big mistake, but because of a feeling that wasn't handled properly. And this is why so many connections fade without explanation, without closure, without a clear reason, because it didn't break loudly, it broke silently. In a moment that felt insignificant to one person, but meaningful to the other. And by the time you notice it, it's already too late. Because the shift already happened. And once someone starts feeling that distance, they don't always come back. Not because they don't want to, but because something inside them already moved away. And the truth is, it wasn't the moment that changed everything. It was what happened after.